Hi, I'm Scott Williams. As an estate planning attorney, as well as the co-developer of the FundingPro trust funding software system, I can appreciate why you're watching this video. Let's face it, there's just not many options out there when it comes to automating the funding of a living trust. When I opened my estate planning firm in the early 1990s, I was frustrated with how difficult it was to fund a living trust. Of course, my professional colleagues all told me to turn the funding over to my clients. But my experience in doing so was less than positive. I found that no matter how much time I spent emphasizing the importance of the funding to my clients, they still struggled to complete it. I finally came to the conclusion that the only way these trusts were going to get funded was if we took an active role and took on that responsibility ourselves. It certainly was not a decision we made lightly, as there were a number of challenges we would face. First, we had to have a system in place that did not involve repetitive data entry. We needed a one-and-you're-done type of system. This necessitated that we develop an automated funding system that utilized software technology. We also had to have a system that was both accurate, fast, and profitable for the law firm. And that was the genesis for what is now known as the FundingPro trust funding software system. Let me share with you a little bit about the software and what it does. The FundingPro software is built on the popular HotDocs document assembly engine. We start by entering data about the client, and then enter the name of the trust and who the initial and successor trustees are. Next, we enter information about all of the client's financial holdings. These would include the name of the company holding the asset, the account numbers, and how the asset is originally titled. The software will allow you to fund all kinds of different asset categories, such as bank and credit union accounts, investment accounts, stocks and bonds, personal effects, business interests, all types of insurance and annuities, qualified retirement plans, and real property interests. Once this data is entered, the software will create an asset allocation worksheet. This enables you to identify which trust you wish to fund the asset to if you're using separate trusts. If you're using a joint trust, you can allocate the asset to one spouse or the other, or you can allocate it evenly between both spouses. Of course, if you're funding a single client's trust, this is less of an issue. You can then prepare a proposed asset detail report which identifies each asset, what the original ownership of that asset was, and how you're recommending it should be funded. The report is then given to your client for their review and written approval. Once the client has approved the proposed funding of the trust, the software will generate the appropriate documents to either transfer ownership or change beneficiary designation, or in some cases both. These documents would include funding instruction letters to financial institutions, funding requirement reports, which detail the asset transfer requirements of various financial companies, company-specific change of ownership or beneficiary forms, funding verification letters that customer service representatives can sign confirming the change of ownership or beneficiary occurred, as well as funding tracking sheets so you can track the status of each asset in the funding process. As you receive confirmation that an asset was funded, you can then enter the date of the confirmation in the software. The software will then generate an asset detail report which tracks all ownership and beneficiary changes, asset values, equalization of assets, as well as the number of assets funded, the percent of the total assets funded, and the amount of time it took to complete the funding. In future years, after the initial funding is completed, you can send your clients an asset review report which allows them to update their asset values, as well as identify any new assets they've acquired or sold since the date of their last funding review. This not only enables you to maintain deeper client relationships, but also increases the likelihood that your firm will be utilized to settle the trust on the death of the client. It's also a wonderful tool to incorporate into a formal estate planning maintenance program. Each month, the software is updated to incorporate any changes in company-specific forms, as well as any software enhancements. And we have intentionally designed the software to reduce the risk of malpractice by not allowing you to make asset changes that would result in a potentially taxable event. Included with the software are over 150 pages of detailed funding bulletins that will walk you through how to fund each asset type, as well as what potential obstacles you may encounter. These technical bulletins are updated as changes in the law occur. We designed the FundingPro software with you in mind. It is intuitive, easily understood, and can be implemented by a non-licensed member of your professional staff. I invite you to review our videos, check out our software samples, or request a software demonstration. I'm confident you will find the FundingPro software to be the most thorough and easy-to-use trust funding system around. Thank you. Thank you for exploring how the FundingPro trust funding software can benefit your estate planning practice. And please do contact us with any questions you may have. We welcome the opportunity to help you and wish you success with your estate planning practice.